All right, sometimes we are working with a piece and what happens is we either photograph it or basically it comes to our system and it's discolored and we need to adjust those colors. Now this one isn't that bad, but there is a tint of red to it, especially if you use your color picker here, and you check some of the blacks like so. So you can see that there's definitely like some purples and stuff like that and some reds. It's got that tint to it. So a couple of things that we can do to kind of make this be cleaner and a little bit more adjusted is first you can do it one of two ways. The first way is destructive, which means once you apply it, it no longer can go back. And that is going to image and adjustments, and then you can use some of these here. For example, if we want to desaturate it, we can add that, and that'll get rid of all the color elements into it. Or we can change the levels up and we can do curves and exposures. Now, these are all one-time things, but we can actually go over here and do a non-destructive. And so this basically creates a layer, and from there we can kind of play around with it. So for example, if I want to play with hue and saturation. So hue and saturation is the color, the saturation, and the lightness. So in this case, if I want to desaturate an element, I can basically bring that saturation down. Now that works great for changing color. We can even add color to it, and by colorizing it, and then basically playing around with the saturation as well. That is one way to do things. We can also work with levels, and levels are basically very simple to adjust the value scale of an object. Now here you can adjust it via green, blue, and red, which are the RGB modes. In this case, all I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the white is white and the black is black. So if you move the white over, you'll notice that a lot of the little lines fade away. If you move the black over, you'll notice that a lot of the darks get darker. So if you go too much, it starts getting a little muddy. If you kind of pull back and kind of go to your peaks, you'll have a nice representation of your line work. For example, we can always change the middle one to add a little bit more dark or to pull a little bit more light off, depending on what you kind of want for your particular image. So that is to work with levels. The other thing we can do is we can also play around with black and white. That'll desaturate. We can also play around with curves, and what curves does is basically same thing as kind of levels, except we can kind of bend that curve into the direction that we're looking for. So we can push more darks or we can pull back lights. And that's just by clicking on the curve and then moving said curve around. And so then all you have to do is File, Save As, and save it as a JPEG or something along those lines, and you can create a nice comprehensive line work or image that are closer to the real colors that you're using on the paper. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and ask.